when you're looking at market segmentation, it's more than just the basic demographics. It's more than location and so on. You have to look at another factor, which is called the product life cycle. You'll see here on the product life cycle, in essence, you have a bell-shaped curve, and pretty much we go through and we chop the bell-shaped curve into 4 different quadrants. That first tail is about 4.5%. We call that the introduction phase, and those people there are the ones that always seek out the cutting edge items. And then you have the early majority, about 42.5%, somewhere in that range over there, that makes that group up. And they're the ones that start adopting that early and the early majority. And then you have what we call the late majority, and they tend to sit down and watch the whole market, and they dive in eventually, sometimes because they have no choice. And there's some people that no matter what happens, you'll never get them over. We call them the laggards. And on the technology side, we call them the Luddites and so on. So it's a matter of where they sit on the different spectrum. Let's look at this, especially from a car perspective. I think that'll give us a good perception of where we're at, because a couple of things are going to surprise you where we're actually at on that product life cycle for cars right now. It really is the length of time from the product first being introduced to the actual time it leaves the market overall. Introduction, growth, maturity, decline, you'll see there's different marketing strategies that happen. This chart is actually already dated. This chart is actually, at this point, is actually outdated by about 1.5 years, because the marketing has already changed. You'll see there in the first quadrant, it's, by the way, this is not an exact perfect bell-shaped curve. It's got some variations to it based upon profitability and the overall sales and different aspects of it. So electric cars, that first 4.5%, we're actually leaving that segment over there, and electric cars are now migrating into that growth phase. If you look there, you'll see that red line and the blue line, the comparison there. The most profitable segment over here is actually that growth phase. Electric vehicles, just a few years ago, every time you sold an electric vehicle, you were usually losing $8,000 to $12,000 per vehicle. The government's come in, there's a subsidy for that aspect of it to make up that difference. So now you have cars making some serious profitability off the cars, and there's no caps on the overall funding for those subsidies. With that, electric vehicles, now they've migrated over into the growth phase, and you'll see that Tesla has dramatically dropped their prices. You'll see multiple cars coming into the market. You're seeing that because we're in that growth sector. And then as you go into the maturity sector, or that late majority sector, you're going to see many, many more vehicle companies coming out. And then finally, the laggard section over here. So we're going to look at each segment in just a moment. But I want to keep in mind, number one, there is an interesting data fact you need to know about. The last 50 years prior to 2010, there were only 6 car companies that were started. Of the 6, only 2 survived. One is Lamborghini, and the other one is Tesla. Lamborghini technically has been bought out by BMW, so technically only one has survived the entire time. As of the time of this recording, there are at least 7 car companies. The bulk of them here in California have started electric cars. You also have at least 3 companies engaged in semi-trucks. Now, the number varies. It depends who's buying who out at what moment, but you're going to see a shakeout. But also, there's probably more people competing for this electric vehicle market than ever before. Not just that, there also are autonomous vehicles, which people view as a super duper bank out there. And so let's take a look at some of these. Here are the autonomous vehicles. This is one that's actually fully operational in San Francisco right now. It's almost humorous. Recently, one of the vehicles ended up in an intersection with flashing lights on, and it didn't know if it should turn, and it sat there debating what to do for about 15 minutes while the passengers inside were freaking out because the traffic signals are going on, cars are trying to go around it and everything. That's just part of growing up. At least the car didn't hit anybody, which is one of the best things. Quadrant 1 now, we're moving out of that aspect of the vehicles. This is the beginning of something really big. We're estimating that on an annual basis by 2050, that the autonomous vehicle market by 2050 will be $7 trillion in that one segment. It's going to be huge. It's going to be big. By the year 2030, it is conceivable that you will have a vehicle pull up to your front door at 7:20, pick you up, drive you to work while you do work inside your car, drop you off, and then be there at 3:15 to pick you up or whatever, without you even having a garage or a vehicle of your own. That is a high probability of things happening in the future, maybe not by 2030, but certainly later on in life. You may not even need a car because somebody's going to be operating a fleet of this aspect of autonomous vehicles. These really are the beginning in quadrant one. Quadrant two, you see, here's a Tesla. In this case, it's a Model X. They just dropped the car by about 17% in sales with the intention of Tesla wanting to grab a market. Tesla makes no bones about it. By 2030, they have every intention of selling 20 million cars, more than any other car company today. They intend to be selling that many on an annual basis. They want to have huge market share. By them being first in the electric vehicle market, and then also them being out there and other people trying to compete nose to nose with them, all of a sudden, boom, they're dropping prices 6 to 12 to 20% on different vehicles. All of a sudden, that's really hurting the profit margin for other vehicles out there. It's a brilliant move by Tesla, but also it's a sign that we're out of that introduction phase. We are actually in that early majority phase, where a lot of people sit down and make a huge amount of money in profits. So you'll see that aspect. Here we are. These are gas vehicles. Gas vehicles, if you look on the overall economy in the world, in the year 2022, that was the first year that electric vehicles had double-digit sales. 10% of all cars sold in 2022 were electric vehicles. That is a huge chunk of the market. The average gas vehicle dropped 7.4% overall of market share. So you have electric vehicles are physically starting to replace the purchasing aspect of gas vehicles. They're moving into that late majority phase. Now, one of the odd stats over here, even though that's happening at this moment, General Motors is still developing an 8-cylinder V8 engine to come out, and that's a gas-powered engine. So we'll see what happens with that. There's some mixed signals on that, but you're seeing gas vehicles already out there. And then this vehicle over here is called a Hummer H2. They stopped making them in about 2009. Basically, the advertisement when they first came out says, how about putting on a little metal? That's a 5,000-pound vehicle, and it resembles a small tank. You could put a turn on that thing and quad 50s on the top and use it over in the war if you wanted to use it. Actually, that's where it came from. It came from the military background. It's a heavy, heavy vehicle. It's gas powered. The latest Hummer now has 1,000 horsepower, but it's all electric. So this is really a thing totally of the past. A few people love them and they drive them around. They're very proud of them. But the reality is that the old H2 Hummer is a thing of the past. But the new Hummer is a thing of the future because it's all electric, has massive horsepower, and there's an 80,000 wait list at the time of this recording for it. The world's changing quite a bit. Product lifestyle, some things never phase out. Crayons and sidewalk chalk, they have a very long life cycle. There's almost very little change to them. They never go into decline because you have some items like that. There will always be young people and children that'll be out there with sidewalk chalk and crayons. You'll see different aspects of it, but each one has a different marketing strategy. Here is an example, some of the marketing elements over there. The introduction phase over here, the people that are the innovators in that very first quadrant, you can charge them an awful lot of money and they're willing to pay for it because they want to be the first ones to have that. Most of us make fun of them. Hey, did you really sleep outside the store instead of a sleeping bag so you'd be the first one to buy whatever it may be? We laugh at them, we make fun of them, except as soon as we have a problem with the new technology out there that they bought, we go to them and we ask them questions about it because they're the smartest ones out there because they love the new stuff. Even though we make fun of them, they're the first ones that we call. The growth, the maturity, the decline, you look on the pricing makes a big difference because if you're involved in research, you have to pay attention. Where is your service going to be? Where is your product going to be? Is it going to be in the early phases where you have a lot of liberty with pricing, but you also have some issues about the technology itself, or the service itself might be so new, you have to make adjustments on it? Are you in a maturity, or are you shooting something for in that decline phase, which actually has a different type of marketing? You'll see about 54% of them use what's called the long tail model on Amazon. That would be a different class to take a look at. Sales and profits, they vary over the product life cycle, the way you sell them, how much money you can make, and how many items you can make or sell in the process. Here are some old things that were replaced. Some of these, most of us don't even know about. Once upon a time, a company called Blockbuster was selling videotapes, and they were going to buy Netflix, and they decided not to. Now, nobody knows what a Blockbuster store is, except Netflix has replaced everything. Here are some of the latest things. But by the way, everything in the right-hand column, Facebook, iPhones, Netflix, someday down the line, they'll also be replaced. They don't think so today, but another 10 years from now, who knows what'll be out there. The best-selling product in 10 years has not been invented yet. That could be you. You could be on the cutting edge. Regardless, pay attention to the product life cycle. It plays a very important role in the aspect of the marketing research and where your product and service is going to be. Take care.